Now, Action 10's Cole Vaughn with your Doppler 10 weather forecast.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, as we've been talking now for several days here in a row about the flooding on the northern portions of the Nueces River, here's drone footage of some of that flooding there in the Three Rivers area. All the floodwater is currently feeding into the Nueces River, and we've now learned that Hazel Bays Moore Park will close sometime early tomorrow because of the rising river levels, and that closure is expected to last for several weeks. Levante Park is expected to close as well, and that could happen sometime over the weekend. All of that rain upstream is having to flow downstream and into Lake Corpus Christi, and with Lake Corpus Christi rising, they're having to release water to alleviate some of the pressure there on that lake. So part of what's going to cause some of the flooding downstream is what we're seeing coming out of Lake Corpus Christi. So let's bring you up to date on this. Nueces River at Blunser is now in major flood stage. They have just popped up to this major flood stage category, and you can see where they've been. Actually, yesterday at about 4 o'clock, they were still down there in flood stage, but have risen significantly since that time, just now hitting major flood stage. And by the time we hit Saturday afternoon, they're going to kind of begin to level off, and it's still going to be extremely high, but that leveling off looks to occur really all the way through the start of next week. So this high river level is not just going to be a quick incident, it's going to be a little bit prolonged into parts of next week. And then further downstream, also going to be feeling the effects of this Nueces River at Calallen, currently in action stage, and you can see them down there, just right there on the borderline of flood stage at this point. They are expected to hit flood stage by tomorrow, and then by the time we hit Sunday, they're going to be there knocking on the door of moderate flood stage. So unfortunately, these rivers are going to continue to rise because of the increased amount of water that we're having to let out of Lake Corpus Christi. So another big story around the area was the sunshine and blue sky that we got to see here in the coastal bend today. You can see now we do have some upper level clouds that are coming in. I'm still hopeful that we can get a pretty decent sunrise tonight, but it's just going to depend on where those clouds are placed. If they're blocking the western horizon, then we may not see much. If the sun can sneak through, though, it's likely to light up those clouds in a big way. Going to be a very pretty sunset. Beautiful shot here of Rockport. You can see already getting some colors on the horizon there. And you get some of those upper level clouds you can actually see on visible satellite imagery. You can see them streaming in from the southwest, and that's what's kind of painting our sky for us today. But no real rain to be speaking of across the state. That's the good news. And with the sunshine and no rain, temperatures have been rising. In fact, we saw 81 in San Antonio. We're now 79 in Corpus Christi, 76 in Laredo, and we were up in the 80s even here in Corpus Christi just earlier today. So as I said, no rain really across the state. This was another dry day for Texas and something well-deserved over the last couple of weeks. Now, the forecast for tomorrow is actually going to be sunshine statewide. Temperatures are going to be in the 70s and 80s for most folks, but there's going to be very little even cloud cover to be seen across the entire state. But let's talk about our weather pattern going forward as we go into the weekend and then for the start of next week as well. So what's going to happen first is high pressure is going to come in tomorrow, and that's going to really allow us to see the sunshine and temperatures warming back up into the 80s. So we're going to actually be up there near that 83-degree mark for tomorrow. And then by Sunday, high pressure continues to stick around, so we're likely to see even more of the sunshine and warmer temperatures. But as we get to Monday, high pressure is going to slide a little bit further to the east, which is going to allow the flow around the high pressure to start coming in off the Gulf for us. And when the winds start coming in off the Gulf, that's when we start to see the humidity returning to the area. And so Monday is going to kind of be that day when the humidity starts to come back. And then as we get into Tuesday, it's going to feel pretty humid out there. And the only thing that could change that is going to be the potential of a cold front as we get into the middle of next week, so closer to Halloween or potentially even the start of November. That would eventually take out most of the humidity, but there's still a lot of uncertainty on that and still something we're going to have to watch. We should have a better idea of that, though, by the time we hit next week. Well, now it's time for your 7-day forecast, brought to you by AutoNation. Every pink plate gets us one step closer to finding a cure. Shop over 100,000 vehicles and drive pink at AutoNation. So for the next couple of days, we're going to have a lot of sunshine, very little cloud cover to even be speaking of. Temperature is going to be up there in the 80s. Notice those mornings, though, still getting plenty chilly down into the 50s. By the time we hit Monday, that's when we start to see that humidity returning, and that lasts through Tuesday and Wednesday as well. Halloween forecast right now looking like 83 degrees, and I don't think there's going to be too much rain, but we are going to be watching that cold front later in the day on Halloween. Some computer models even want to hold off till Thursday, so there's still a lot to be watching for that as we go through the next week. For now, I'll send it back over to you guys.
Thanks a lot, Cole. And speaking of rain, when the rain falls